Today on In the Wood Yard, we're going to stack a full cord of wood. Here we go. So a couple days ago, I stacked these third of a cord or face cord rows. There's two of them. One is stacked with crisscrossed ends. The other one has T-posts on the ends, and I just stacked between there. So I showed you guys how to do that for anybody that wanted to know, because I get questions all the time. How do you stack wood? What's the best way to stack wood? Well, there it is. Now today what I'm going to do is we're going to continue on this pile here, and we're going to make it a full cord instead of just a third of a cord or a face cord. In the trailer right here is a bunch of wood I never got to stack because I ran out of time the other day. And so what I'm going to do today is we're going to take this, we're going to do resplits on the bigger stuff, and then the smaller stuff that's ready to go, we're going to stack right here. So we're basically going to make 3 rows that are 8 feet long, 4 feet high, all right together. So I've got some stringers right here. These are frames that I get from a furniture place. We're going to put down 2 rows of those, 2 high, like you see these right here. There's 2 stacked on top of each other. And again, you can just use 2x4s, or if you want to do a full cord, you could easily just take pallets and put them down. Most pallets, the standard size is 40 inches by 48 inches. So you got your 4 feet wide right there. So you just take 2 of them, 4 feet across, 1 on each end, and then in the middle, all you got to do is fill in that little bit, because 40 inches and 40 inches is 80 inches, and you need 96 inches for your 8 feet long. So you could either cut a pallet down, or you could just take something like this or some 2x4s and fill in that middle section of 16 inches is all you need to do, and then you can go right from there. The reason you want to have it on pallets or on runners is to keep it off the ground. Some people say you don't need to do that, but they're wrong. If you put wood on the ground, it will suck up moisture, it will rot, and especially if you're having it there for a long time, it will not dry properly. By getting it up off the ground, it's going to allow airflow from underneath. It's going to keep the wood from contacting the ground, so it will dry better, it will stay dry longer, it will last longer. So there you go. Now, in some of the southern parts of the United States, and probably other countries in the world, you have termites. We don't have termites here, but termites, if you make contact with the ground, can get into your wood, and that's a bad thing because they can actually eat it away. We do have ants here, but generally ants are only in wood that is wet or green. We get a lot of them in red oak, willow trees, cottonwood, some maple trees I've seen where you get ants, and they will eat the center out, and that's a lot of times what kills trees or makes them weak, and then where they tip over, break off in the wind. Once the wood is cut and split, it starts to dry, the bugs will leave in general. Yes, there's still some bugs that will get into hickory. There's little bitty worms that will get in there, and they'll turn it to powder over a long period of time. But in general, get the wood dry and the bugs will leave it alone. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to put down a couple stringers right along through here. We're going to go 2 high, 2 wide. So I end up with 4 feet wide this way, and then we're going to be 8 feet long that way. So we're going to do that. And then I've got the splitter right here, and we're going to take all the pieces that are good to go, put them right down into the pallets and stack it, and then we're going to split down some of the other bigger stuff that I want down. So it's this size. I don't want it any bigger than about 3 or 4 inches maximum, because it'll dry better. It's easier to handle. My customers prefer stuff this size. Basically, my customers want to be able to pick it up with one hand, so nothing bigger than what this one is like right here. And by splitting it down and getting an open surface, it'll dry much better and much faster. If you leave the rounds full, unsplit, it will take much longer to dry, because the bark that's on, no matter what kind of tree it is, the bark will hold moisture in. It's like skin. It'll hold the moisture in. So something like this right here is almost, oh, look at that, it's got a split side. So this would dry faster, but I would still split this down one more time in half here. That's what I would do. I don't know if there's any full ones in here. There's one right up there, you can see. It's round, so that would need to be split in half at least. And the rest of these are going to get split too, so time to get busy. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put down my runners or stringers or base or pallets, whatever you want to call it. And all I'm going to do is get it so it's the same as the other one, because I already measured the one that is underneath here. That's 8 feet. So just want to get it so there's enough room that I can stack, and these work really good for that. So there's one, and then the other one is going to go right next to it, right here. And so by having these 3 rows, it'll be 4 feet wide then, because all my pieces are 16 inches, and once I stack it up, it will be 4 feet by 4 feet by 8 feet. Now the next thing I'm going to do is, these are not long enough, so I'm going to take this pallet stringer. I'm going to add on the end here just a little bit because those aren't quite long enough. So I'm going to use my little Olamo, I think that's how you say it. I'm going to cut it. Come on, baby. There's one. There's two. Okay, so this one will go right here. This one will go right here. Back you guys up so you can see a little bit. And I'm going to cut two more to go on top of those. And then we'll have the right amount. So this is got to go, let's cut it right here. There's one. Two. So we're going to flip this around. Let's go this way. Slide this in here. There we go. There's another one. I'll cut one more. So basically, by creating layers of wood underneath the wood, let's see, how do we want to do this? Let's go this way. It will keep the moisture from wicking up into the wood that we want for burning, which is the firewood, because we're going to be sacrificing basically these. If they get a little wet, a little rotten underneath, no big deal. I can chuck them in 2 or 3 years whenever we're done with them and put new ones down. So, or just reuse them. A lot of times you can do that. These are made out of pine, and generally you get 2 or 3 years out of them before they start to get nasty. But what you could also do is just leave them, put another one on top, and just build it up a little bit higher. So there we go. So 8 feet long, and now we're 4 feet wide from side to side, and we're gonna start stacking. So now I got pretty much everything in place. I got the wood backed up in the trailer. I got it tipped up so the wood's gonna come to me. With the dump trailer is awesome because the wood just kind of comes to you down the bottom. I'm right next to the pallets, the stringers right here, so I'm gonna be stacking right in this area. The big pieces I'll bring over here and I'll split them down a little smaller. And then what I'm going to do on these 2 stringers, just like I did there, I will crisscross the ends on the 2 outside corners on this side. And then in the middle, what I'm going to do is I will just stack pieces side to side right here in the middle, building it up, and then I'll run everything else this direction just like this is. I'll show you that in just a little bit. So stacking happens right now. Okay, so as I do the stacking here, I'm going to do a voiceover. I had a mic on, but it was real windy and the mic was making a lot of bad, scary noises. So I decided just to make it sound better and do a voiceover. So basically what I'm doing is finding pieces that are flat on one side that are similar sized so that when you stack them next to each other in the same row, they're the same height and that they're level and they don't rock too much. Now, there is a little bit of play in some of these, but the weight of it will eventually settle it down, and it gets better as you add more weight to it. Now, this outside corner, I'm doing the same way as the corner, the one that's behind me there. I'm crisscrossing it, basically like a log cabin style, as you can see. You try to find a flat piece, put it on there, and then even it out. And you try to find pieces that are, like I said, similar in size, similar in the angle, so that when you put another piece on top on each side, it stays fairly solid. Now, like I said, there's a little bit of wiggle here, and I can see I'm playing with it, trying to get it so it's not too rocky. but the weight of it will eventually push it down and it'll get solid. And then when you start putting other pieces up against it, as you go with the run away from the corner, it will solidify there too. So again, you see I'm packing in pieces. Now some people like to go just with the 2 pieces, one on each side, left and right, and then they leave the middle open. But I find it makes it much more solid if you fill it in the middle, finding pieces that are smaller that you can get in there, because what happens is it creates more of a stability when they bump up against each other, so that it's easier and more solid. So you can see I just stuffed one behind me there. I'll show you. I'm going to be stacking some in that middle section, and those are going to run the direction that I'm laying them right there all the way up that middle section, because they bump up against the 2 outside corners then, but then the rest of the run in the middle, I run the pieces the opposite direction. You're going to see that coming up in a little bit here. So yeah, I'm just trying to find pieces. If they're too rocky, too uneven, I don't fight with it too much. I try to turn them over and see if it gets better, and if it doesn't, then I put them into the middle, or I'll put them into the run as it goes away from the corner. But like I said earlier, this birch is not a great wood to demonstrate for stacking, because a lot of times there's that bark on there that you're kind of fighting because it'll stick out weird. And birch, a lot of times, is a fairly crooked wood, so there's a lot of curve to it. Odd pieces like that one there I just showed you, I'll put right into the middle just to get them out of the way, so that they're not something that I'm fighting with, trying to get it to be solid in the corner. And then here again, I'm kind of just turning them around so I can get them so that they're going to be solid and fill in the space adequately, because that's kind of what you want to do too. You don't want to have a great big void there where it can shift on you and then go down. And again, here I'm just trying to get them evened out and get them so that they're solid. Just kind of keep adding pieces. It's like kind of like a jigsaw puzzle, or a Jenga pile, where you get everything kind of locked together and everything affects everything. But if you build it nicely on the corners, everything else stays nice and solid. So you can see how that's nice and level there, which is what you want. And the outside is a little higher than the inside, and that's okay, because you get a little natural curve to the inside then. And what happens is that the weight kind of pushes in at an angle instead of leaning away from the pile. That one I just put on there doesn't look too good. The one underneath, it looks very, there we go. Oh, see, I'm fitting a piece in there to kind of take away from its wobbliness, its unevenness. So you just kind of keep jamming them in and trying different pieces in different spots there. And like I said, how you split the wood makes a difference too. If you were to split your wood like with a single wedge and make more like shingles, where they're flat slabs, almost like dimensional lumber, so they end up being like say 2x6s or 2x8s, whatever, they stack really nice then. And I've done that in the past with a single wedge, especially with something like red oak. You can get it to slab really nicely and it'll stack really well because it's very flat. But this birch it's not the greatest wood for stacking. At least these ones weren't. I'm sure there are some people that have nice, straight, perfect birch logs that they use, and they can get it to fit nicely. Now, one of the things I mentioned the last time I stacked wood, the stuff that's behind me, is that some people insist that you have to have the bark facing up. Some people insist you have the bark facing down. I really don't think it matters. All that matters is that it dries. If you were to store your wood for a very, very long time, like say years, then maybe having the bark up is a good idea, because it's a natural shield or shingle or protection on the top where the water will run off. And it protects the wood from the sun, I suppose. Once it gets dried, as dry as it's going to be. But other people say, you want the bark exposed, because then if the sun hits it, the wind hits it, it's going to dry better. But my wood, I generally want to turn this wood over in a year. Which, what I mean by turn over is from the time that I cut it, split it, stack it, or throw it in my big bins, I want it gone within a year, maybe a year and a half. I don't want it to sit on it very long. So my main goal is to produce as much wood as I can and get rid of it as fast as I can, which is why I split it the size that I do. It tends to dry a little better, a little faster, easier to handle, and most of my customers want that size wood. In the past, I had larger wood, and when I had the the larger cuts, people would ask me, you know, will this stuff dry? Do I need to split it down? Is it dry on the inside? And it was, because I had a lot of it that was 2 to 3 years old. But now that I cut and split and sell more wood, I want to turn it over faster. Like I said, by that I mean I want to have it gone within a year. That's kind of my goal. And there are certain kinds of woods that are better for that. Oak is one of the worst woods as far as a kind of wood. It doesn't dry very fast. It's nice firewood. It's not the best firewood like some people think. It's just nice firewood. Ironwood, hickory, beech, locust, that kind of wood is all actually better. And in certain parts of the country, there's pecan, there's almond wood, there's Osage orange, all kinds of different kinds of wood. Black birch is really good. That kind of wood all puts out more BTUs than oak, so it's actually better wood. And hard maple, I totally forgot hard maple. That's one of the best. And the nice thing about most of those other woods, they dry faster than oak, so there's that. So I'm just kind of fighting this, trying to get it even here, and I think I'm gonna stop right here and kind of show you what I've done so far. Okay, so what I just did was I stacked the pieces basically square on the end here and then square going this way. So you basically want to have it be fairly even all the way down. If you get a lean out, your pile is going to fall out that way. If you lean out this way, your pile can fall that way. So you want it to lean in slightly and in this way slightly. And as you can see here, these are all crisscrossed right here on the end, just like we did over on this end. They're just crisscrossed so that you can go up 4 feet high like this. And then in the middle, I just run them this direction on the two ends. And then in the middle, we'll be taking all these rounds here. Not rounds, pieces, because they're not round anymore. Take these, and then we will just run all of these on this end like this, here, and here. And we get them up tight as we can, so that basically you're locking it in like that and putting pieces right up tight there. And if you get a little bit of space in between there, it's not a big deal. Space is good. It gives it a little bit of breathing room. So this is where it'll go much faster now, just stacking this way, taking all these pieces. And so then we're going to run this direction all the way across down to that end, where we're going to do the same thing like that down there, and then we're going to do the same thing like that down there. And then once we get done, which you'll see at the end, we will have a stack that is 4 feet wide, 4 feet high, 8 feet long, a full cord, 128 cubic feet. There you go. Look what I have created. Once again, a thing of beauty. It is a full cord of wood, 128 cubic feet, 4 feet wide, 4 feet high, 8 feet long. 3 rows that are each 4 feet high, 8 feet long, 16-inch pieces. 3 of those is a full cord. Some people will call this a bunch of wood, and it is. If you go with just a third of a cord or a face cord, which I'll show you down this way, there is one face cord or a third of a cord right here. So that's the difference. This is one face cord or 1/3 of a cord, so it's 4 feet by 8 feet, one row. And then this one right here is a full cord, which is 4 feet high, 4 feet wide, 8 feet long, full cord. That is the difference. So this birch was a poor choice for me to show for the demonstration because very messy wood. Look at the debris. That is a lot, but it did go through the processor, and this wood was cut months ago, so the bark was starting to peel off, and when we run it through the processor, even more peels off, then it goes right into the trailer when it goes up the elevator and in. And because it's starting to dry, you got a lot of flaking off of the wood, so it's very messy wood. If you want to do this and have it be all real nice and neat with the bark on it, you need to cut it, split it, and stack it right away. No sitting around, and if you do it by hand, with a chainsaw cutting and then splitting right away, whether you use a splitter, a single blade would be the best because you're going to cut through it better. But every time you add knives like this 4-way or the 8-way that is on my processor, you get more shredding, more debris. So it's just the way it is. So there it is, full cord. That's it for today, folks. Hit the buttons. I'll be back tomorrow morning, 5:30 a.m. with another video for you. Right now, if you want, you can go watch one of the other videos on my channel. There's over 1,100. All kinds of stuff about firewood in case you haven't been here before. Best thing you can do is go watch a bunch of them. I highly recommend it. Good night, Irene.